So I know I talk a lot about tiles being pretty easy to run, and for the most part, pretty much every tile in DBD is extremely simple to run and very mechanically easy. The only thing that can really get tough on Survivor's point of view in terms of running the killer is really tight fast faults. This one has one that is mandatory to be able to run. This is one of the docks that can spawn on Grim Pantry and Pale Rose. There's 3 different variations on the docks, and different variations if you're counting where the pallet can spawn. It spawned there this time, but it can spawn at different places. But really, there's just 3 different variations of the docks, and this is what is widely considered to be the weakest or the worst version of all 3 of the docks. Admittedly, this one took me like literally, and I'm not joking, 9,000 hours to figure out how to run. I finally just came up with a good solution that actually consistently works on those docks. Now, it's really kind of half and half. You got the docks over here and the docks over here. Now, the docks over there kind of looks like a 4-lane, and we have a pallet over there. You can't count on the pallet being there. It can be in a different spot. But you have 2 windows. You have the window there, and you have this window over here as well. And it took me forever to figure out how to combine those 2, but we'll get that one to that one in a second. First one I want to talk about is this one right here. This window took me absolutely forever because, like, how are you supposed to get value off of this thing? If you go here, where are you going to go? You're not going to be able to make it back around to this thing. And even if you were running from the killer and you jumped into this thing, where are you going to go then? Because if I want to go anywhere, I'd have to go up here and then cut towards the killer to get to the top of the docks, which would completely take the value out of vaulting that window. Because vaulting this window, the whole point is the killer has to go around wide before they get to you, and if you cut out wide towards the killer, that completely defeats the purpose of jumping this window. But that was before I realized that you should jump it from up top instead. So where you really want to vault this window from is here, because no matter where you are, if the killer comes from the other docks over there, or if they come straight up the middle here, or if they even come from this way. But if they come from this way, then you wouldn't want to run. You would run down there and run up to the lane part. But if they're coming from that side of the docks, you would be standing here. And let's say that pallet's not even there. You wait for the killer to come up here, and you jump down here, and you run this way, and then right when you vault this, the killer has to go around the wide way, and just that wideness helps you get back to this window here. Once you go around, no matter which way the killer pushes you, you'll be able to go in one way or the other. Then if you want, you can jump back into this window. And this is where this window gets really hard to get the extra value off of and go back and forth, is because you have to win this mind game of running around this way. The killer go around wide because they see you just running up, maybe even towards the pallet. The pallet being there definitely helps with this mind game. And once you see the killer cut around, you cut back to this and fast vault to hope to get back around to this window again. Very risky, I know. But what you can really do that for is start it off the same way, because a lot of times you'll have something on the other side of that. We didn't this time, but a lot of times you can jump it off. He'll push you around this way, come in this way, and then you can jump this window. And then when you push to the left over here, we didn't this time, but a lot of times you can even get something around here to loop. Sometimes even something with a pallet, sometimes just one of those big empty boats, and you can loop back in and push into this one again. And if you want, if you have a big enough head start when you jumped in and they went around, you could run back up here again and jump down and go that way. Most of the time you won't, though, because most of the time they won't get mind game too hard after you jump this window here. So this is definitely the weaker side of the weakest part of docks. The thing is, it looks like it would be completely pointless, and I passed by this thing thinking there was no possible value you could get out of it before thinking about jumping off that thing over there and then pushing down and gaining the distance to push around wide this way to be the difference between you making to that window or not. And that's how you get consistent value off of this little guy here. He is. That sucks. You know how long it took me to figure out how to get value off of that? But that's how you get value off of that window. Now, what looks to be the stronger part of the weak docks, but seems to be the most confusing, because are you really going to get this? You can get this running vault, but it's extremely difficult. And even if we were to get this running vault and the killer was around here and we got this running vault, even if we did get it, the killer could just double back for this 50-50 here. And I was like, what is the purpose of that? Same with this window here. If you get the running vault, but it's at a 50-50. And I was thinking that way until I finally saw the lanes that you're supposed to see. I saw this lane here. You see how we're out over here and then diagonally run right towards that window there, just like that. And then same thing on this side. I see this lane here, right towards that window, running right in towards that. Took me forever to see that it was set up this way. And how do you run it back and forth? By using this middle one here, because you can use this one to sort of loop around when you had jumped through windows. So let's say I was getting pushed into this from this side. Say I was looping over there and the killer just pushes me this way. I would jump this and let's see which way the killer pushes around. If they push around that direction, then you just run right around this and go right here and vault the window again, right? And most of the time, if the killer's going around this way, you can see them through that little wall. If the killer comes around this way and you vault this, they're just going to go around that way. If they go around that way, you run back in this way and say, this wall right here, you walk in here, you see them through the window, and you push around this way and back into this right here to do it again. And then most of the time, they'll push around that way because they're coming around that wall right there. They'll go around the wide way, which allows you to run right back in here, go to this side wall right here again, and push right into this again for a running vault. I will say as well, this is one of the hardest running vaults that you can get. Maybe the hardest running vault that you have to consistently get in the game. The one over there, actually, that boat over there is another one that's extremely hard to get that running vault, but this one is completely necessary to go back and forth, whereas that one you get one time and then you can leave it if you want to. But the question is, what do you do if they push around the other way? So let's say they caught on to the trick we were just doing. We jump around here. Let's say they did push around that way, right? Instead of going around that way and letting us just do the way we just went. If they push around that way, this is where the lane comes in handy. You see that lane right there? That's where you get this lane right there. And then the same thing, if they push us around that way, we run around this way. Look at that lane right towards the window. And then they'll probably turn around anyway. And then they go around that wide way. We push right in towards the middle again, this right here. And then same thing, you can just get right back into it. And then literally, there's a way that they can push you either way, and it actually makes sense with this window. Took me 9,000 hours to figure out, but this is definitely one of those tiles where it not only does not explain itself, but it's something you can literally look at and run by for thousands of hours before you finally figured it out, before standing in the right spot to see like, oh, look at that. And the reason I'm telling this to you is don't feel bad if you have thousands of hours in this game and you run by a window, and don't feel stupid or guilty or bad at the video game if you ran by a certain window and were like, man, I never thought about running it that way. I ran by this tile for literally 9,000 hours before I figured this out. And now we have it. I'm excited to run it as opposed to avoiding it every time and being like, oh no, we got the bad docks. Now it's like, yes, we got the good docks, trying to try to get this running vault, and then whichever way they push us around, go the other way and then run it the other way. Because then it becomes very exciting. And now every time we load into Grim Pantry or Pale Rose, I'm like, can we please have the bad docks? I want to practice them. Yay. Yes! I've never gotten that running vault before. That's the very first time. This is how you loop the inside part. Yes! We got it again! Can I make it to this? Double back. No! I thought if I did it again, he was going to double back.